folks, we are going to dive deep into this situation. The question was brought up again about the low tier defense, and to be honest, I haven't looked real close into a T1 meat shield. Like, I can't say that it won't work because I don't have heaps of them. It's just in reports I've not seen much one way or another with T1 Siege, what does what. So we're going to dive in, take a little look-see. I want to go into Battlefield, and forgive me for the mass scrolling, but now that I'm in a smaller alliance, these reports don't help a lot, mainly because it's not against elite buffs, and that's what I need to have to really show me anything, is buffs against the best. So here's the discussion: is the T4 Siege versus T1 Siege, a T1 Siege meat shield versus, the building heavy T4. And I'm going off the reports, and I asked big players like YBE and Psycho, I asked them too, and I'm like, well, so what's the deal with this? And I'm like, okay, if it isn't working, is a special dynamic. If it isn't protecting the high tier siege, which it does and it doesn't. So here's the thought process is, against a solo, they'll be negative. Yeah, against a solo, they'll be negative. But defensively, you're not going to have, you can't have everything. You get, players that spend a lot, I'm sure they can all have, 4,500, 5,000 stats on, their attack in the city. And I understand that. But, for a lot of us, that's not an option. To get to that point is not an option, which I could have built different and got more out of the packs that I've spent on, and I could probably be K44 or K45 by now, but you know what? I did what I did, and it's too late to go back, so this is where we're at. Man, this is a lot of mass panning. Apologies on this. This is insane. So yeah, against a solo, yeah, you're going to be negative. I get that. There is a way to not be negative, and I did this, and ultimately I had to change it all, and that was the only way that you could be positive against those solos, because they kill your T4s, was to go flats on your siege, and that just wasn't reasonable. It worked for a while. It was good for a while, and a lot of people thought I was nuts for having all those siege flats. But yeah, so you'd be good against the solos, but against the rallies, they would smash you. I was still positive against siege, but all the other buffs were so weak that they ran through me, because we all saw Reborn ran through me with 5 rallies. Jeez, I think most of this is Clash bullshit. So, here's the thing. What was told to me was that the T4s move up and get into a targeting position because at where they're at, there's nothing for them to hit. So, what I was told was that the T4s move into range and start hitting stuff or engaging stuff. Well, my issue with that is I'm like, okay, so why... in that case, why doesn't all the siege tiers move up? Or why doesn't at least some others move up, just the T4s? Because if you look, that's what'll get hit, and that's what'll get killed is T4s and nothing else. So let's look. This is hot with... well, that's archers. But I want to just go into this, and let's look. I had a lot of rain, it looks like. But from what I saw in some videos is... the T4 was killing a lot of archer as well, but in this case it was not. Or no, the T4 siege. It killed 337. Well, the lower tier siege did as well. But I know I've seen reports where the T4 like killed a lot. Hey man, this is probably not even really worth looking at. Alright, Candy King, let's take a look. I think he's pretty good. That was Dr. Combat. That was Stout. Boosted. Here's me, 2.1 billion versus was positive, and it was Siege. Which I know what the people that are questioning this, like they're going to want to see some solos, which is fine. I think I've got some PvP solos in here. But here we look, they cleared my 13s, 14s. I had no 15s. I did not clear my 12. And we'll go all the way down to the 4s because we know that they're going to be decimated. So yeah, in this case, the 4s, they took 28 mil. But and this is the issue that I come into is, with the question of it, the question we're looking at, yeah, they did not kill very many, but nothing else really did either, and none of the other siege is engaging. Like, even so, 26 mil, some should be getting killed. Will be my point on this one. And let's go up a little further. Shax. That's boosted. That's Cookie. Cookie used to play the game. A really good guy. He was a non-coiner. We were trying to get the recipe right. And we never actually did. And he ended up moving on, unfortunately. Because he's a great teammate. Always was trying to get better. He'd put time in every day. He'd run bosses. He'd do a lot of gathering. He was a great teammate. He's like the type of teammate that you want. All right, so here we go. Here's a solo from Waggy Monster. I'm sure he's got pretty good buffs. 30. It's okay. 3576. And this is my old generals, really old generals. So I cleared my 15. And the 14 got stopped. Let's see what happened with the 4s. And he got some of my 4.6 million of the 4s. But, and here again, we come into below tier 4, nothing's doing anything. I mean, 1,000 kills, 20 kills, T1, 70 kills, no wounded. So it tells me they aren't tying up, they aren't doing anything. The T4s are engaging. This is against Siege. T4s are engaging, and then nothing else is really touched. Like my 14s were touched, and my 15s. So, and this is my reasoning why. Like, why I don't preach, I don't build a T1 Siege, because, so this is a solo, so this is what you want to see, right? And, it was fairly close. So it was about 100 million difference. So I really doubt that was positive. This is against Combat, same deal. He was negative there too. Oh, he had a lot of rain. It was a calf hit. And Combat. Here's me again. With red. No, this is in a building. This one hurt a little bit. 5.7 versus 5.8 with Siege. So now we're going to get to see, which I had one rain and that's it. Oh, this is All Stars. So again, we're going to look. Cleared the 12s. He rocked me really good. Really good. But let's go down here. The 4s engaged. They died. And here again, we're going to look. T3 Siege killed 38,000. So they're killing less. They are engaging. They're killing something. And then we get down to the tier 2s. They're not engaging. They're not dying. They're killing some stuff, but probably residual. The last remainder of the last wave of attack. And let's look at this rally. So this rally was 4, 8, 12, 13, 14 players in. And these are big name players, right? Waggy Monster. Goku's a player that's pretty well recognized. Huntress is a very good player from NEF. So, and looking at it, like it and this is the reason why. I don't preach the T1 because when you look at it, like you'd be building it for no reason. And I'm not going to lie, like it probably does engage. This is about an even draw here. So this is another hit. And we coming on with 4,000 buffs. I had Bob Destroyer as a rain. I must have did a heal at this point. The way it's looking. So again, my T10s get smashy a little bit. And then we're going to go all the way down and we're going to look. And there are the T4s again. 34 mil. And again, this is why, as we look at these tier 2s, they're getting some kills, which is just residual, and nothing's dying. So it's not really tying it up like the T4s. From what I've been explained, the T4s are moving ahead and tying up and engaging while they're engaging my higher tier siege. But then also, maybe it's working this way because my T4, like I've got a really high number. So maybe they're engaging them because they're viewing them as a bigger threat. And we'll look again at this rally. We got Waggy, Horo's good. These guys are all good. This is all-stars, so everyone's good. But yeah, at the end of the day, like that's what it comes down to for me is the fact that, they're tying up. And I'm going to look into I'm going to look and see if I've got an Archer rally, which this is an Archer rally. So let's see. Because in theory, Siege kills Archer, so we should have a high number of stuff going on here if it's going to work to tie up an Archer, which, the T1's not significant kills. T2s have more. T3s have more. T4s have significantly more. So when you look at it, my theory is correct. Even in these older reports, the theory is correct that T4 is going to kill a significant amount of archers. And these are probably higher tier archer too. So let's keep moving on. Avalon took me for very, very little. With no general. Hey! Hey, so here's an archer. And this, this is an older report. You're gonna have to me because I didn't have very many archer left. And you know what? It's kind of looking like I did somewhat of a heal here. And it probably did pretty well against my Cav. Did he clear all of them? It's quite possible. Cleared the 3s, cleared the 2s. Took 100 mil off the 1s. And then, so this is Archer. Let's see. T1, 138K. T2, 181. T3, 410. T4, 2.4 mil. So those are significantly, that's positive points. And I understand the cost is less, and we look at the numbers, but when you look at the reports, we're looking at the true dynamics and what really happens. And I think that's where the value is. Kuma, this should have been good. This is positive 3.704 bill versus 2.4, let's say. And they sent siege. And now maybe I'm a whittle down a little bit where we can see. Nope, I still had my high tiers. And that's the thing. Without those T4 tying up and engaging, like this would be a lot worse, right? And I understand the thought process. Like if you're talking pure a 1 versus 1, likely you're not going to be positive. But like as we discussed, also we need to understand that you can't have everything. Like maybe there's some players that spend heaps of money and they can have everything, but at the end of the day, as we see here, it is what it is, and the T1s are just not doing. I mean, let's go down. We'll go down and look at it. This is a siege. T1 siege had no troops died and only killed 4,600. T2 killed even less. So now here at least we see the T3. They're engaging. They're tying up. 700,000 died. So with that being said, that means that they engaged and they're dying. And then with this, the T4 killed a little bit more than the 3. More died there. But then the whole point in this is to protect your high level siege. Like, and at the end of the day, if you ask what's more important, I think it's probably more important that you are surviving better against rallies than what's going on with solos. Because SVS, you may go a little back and forth with solo siege hits, which is fine. It's whatever. It's SVS, and the longer you play the game, the less important SVS matters. A lot of the big servers in Continent 1 don't even really care about SVS. They do it for a little bit of fun. But without the 4s engaging and them getting killed, he would have cut a lot further into my 12s and 11s. And in that case, he'd be able to walk through a lot easier with all that siege gone. And I understand where people are at. So this time I was negative and they sent siege. But I only had 1 rain, so I'm pretty sure he probably wiped out all my siege. Yep, there's the 4s. The 3s. And just for sake of argument's sake, we look here and 30 million, that's not heaps. But that's a sizable number, and they really didn't do anything. And then the 2s, really didn't do anything. And then the 1s, which is 26 million, did a little bit more. But when you look at this, you may as well figure that you're probably going to have to build like 200 million T1 siege to have a meat shield effect with it. Let's see. What you got, Daddy? So this is Archer. And again, we'll just take a quick look at the details. They had a sizable amount in that rally. It kind of splatted. They didn't have enough in there. Let's just go down and let's take a look. The T4 siege killed 887,000 Archer. Against an Archer, 166 million died. T3, 257, nothing. And, it is what it is. When you look at this, you're going to look at the kills because, you're not going to really have wounded against the siege, against an Archer. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, how do I feel? Which, here's a good one because it was a siege. I was negative. And let's see what happened is 15s. See, and here's the thing. Like, even with the solo, so this is a solo. So this is what we would look for. This, from the person that making the case of the argument or the debate. I don't really want to call it an argument. I want to call it a debate, because I think, people have thrown out their opinion on this. And here's the thing. There's no book. There's no cheat book. There's no nothing for Ebony. There's nothing out there. It's all based on experience, reports. Reports is the closest thing that you're going to find to the truth. And then a lot of it is assumption as to what's happening, because I like a lot of the stuff that Derek puts out, and that a lot of the players that do YouTube channels put out on the game. But also in looking at a lot of it, I'm like, you're explaining things, but like a lot of stuff you're kind of based on assumptions, and then there's like just certain things in the report that are not making sense or kind of being bypassed over, like troop speed and stuff like that. And there's stuff. It's not evidence that can't be discussed or debated further. And then in this one, so 80,000 troops died. They killed 10,000. But let's see what the lower tier siege did. Again, here about 10,000. No wounded on there. 10,000 again on the siege. 12,000, which is a little bit more on the T1 siege. So, these are small numbers. Jaboki, he's pretty good too. And again, we go into the siege and see what happened. He cleared the T-15s, cut into the 14s a little bit, and my numbers have been whittled down quite a bit, so it makes sense. 431,000 died here, so the 4 is tied up. But then again, here you're going to look, and there are some numbers that are being killed by the siege, but it's very, very little. None of the other tiers are tying them up. None are dying. So, that's the whole story there is, if they're tying up, that means that they're doing something. But if they're not, this one ought to be dicey. Oh, well, you know what? I have no disrespect to RSP, because I'm not going to lie, these guys are some of the best in the game. 4,100 Archer, and this was probably back before Archer could be was really, really, really good. Let's just see. We got RSP. We've got some good players in here. I'm good, girl. She is not a good girl. You're a lot of trouble. You are a lot of trouble, honey. Yeah, so let's see. So it was Archer, and I guarantee you they cleared me. They did. You can see they had clearly my T-15 ground's gone. I know that they just completely wiped out my... Yeah, because you see they cleared out my 13 range. They cleared out my 14 range. So they messed me up for sure. But again, let's go down. T1's killed some. Well, basically, we're looking at this because we're looking at how do the low tiers affect or defend against an Archer rally. That's a pretty solid Archer rally. And then here, the T3 killed 22K. Tier 4, in this case, they killed more than the other lower tiers. And some died. But this report's massively positive, so that one's not really in question. Cav, that's not really going to tell us a whole hell of a lot. Ground, that's not really going to tell us a whole hell of a lot in comparison to what that, and with the massive reinforcements, it's really not going to tell us a whole hell of a lot. Indy, I cannot deal with you right now. I cannot handle you right now. Just a heads up. So what else have we got? CDI. They didn't like me very much. And again, this is siege, so we're just, I mean, just for sake of arguing, or stake, just to look it over and see like what's doing what here. And anyone can build any way they want. Like, there's no, like, when I put out info, I'm not saying you should build this way or everyone should build this way. I'm showing what I see when I look at a report and what's making sense to me. And I don't think anyone should take what anyone says on a YouTube video as gospel. Like, you need to learn how the dynamic works for your keep, and you need to individually learn the game. And I've been using that terminology for a long time. Is you need to individually learn the game. You know, and again here, T2s do very little, T1s do very little. The T4s engage heavily. And these guys aren't pushovers either. They sent siege 8 in the March, 35 million rally, which that's a small rally for me to take and for me to like look at these. NFG, Fox the Terrific. But I don't see the point in going any further into this. It's pretty much we've covered it 10 times over. And you know, this is where it's at. It is what it is. And that's just how the dynamics work. It is what it is. Yes, I understand it's going to be cheaper, and there's like a lot more. There's sense in the efficiency of building the T1 Siege, but the reason that I haven't is I did add some numbers to get over 20 mil just to do a small sample and see what happens, and I just have not seen anything that leads me to believe that would be a really smart choice. Shiro's great. I have a lot of respect for Shiro. We talk back and forth a fair amount, or we used to. He wanted me to play on their team, but it's really hard to. It's really hard to consider. Well, it's because when people fight you, like, they're looking at the keep that they're fighting. They're looking at my keep that is fighting, and that's tanking these defenses. And you know, I don't know if I could bottle that magic again. I mean, there would be so much to it to make that happen that it wouldn't be easy to really. Which these are old reports. These are from last year. So let's just bump up and see if I can maybe find something more from this last All-Star would be ideal. CDI 8. I feel like there was a more recent one. Probably here. Buttercup. Oh, it looks like that was likely a port swap. Oof, that was rough. This is more recent, so let's take a look at this one. Still with Leo the Third and Marshall, so this is still my old. But I just want to go down to the T4s, see what happened. Well, what kind of rally was this? Because even the T4s didn't engage that time. And it was a siege. And it was a pretty big siege, so I feel like the rains changed the dynamic a little bit. Slow strike, slow strike, slow strike. Nope. I'm good with looking at that. You got to frank it up. Okay, so now we're getting a little closer because this is my new setup, or newer. I've switched since this one as well. Yeah, so this is like this was the first round of echelons, which I know I had some really good defenses in this one. I really did. This was a solo siege. I think that was an accidental solo siege. And here came the archer, which was pretty negative. And let's see all the salty people that wanted to mess me up and did not. POF, plenty of... You don't want to know what I want to say. X-Wing, send archer, X-Wing. So here's a siege. A lot of rain here. A lot of rain. But again, I just want to go through this dynamic, which, they've messed me up pretty good here. Cleared my 13s, cleared my 14s, cleared 15s were already gone. But let's go down to the T4s, and here 50 million wiped out, 6,000 kills, 2,000 kills, nothing engages. About 3,000 kills, nothing engages. 300 kills, nothing engages because nothing's being killed. And so in this one, which is much more current. So that was 12-7. Let's go to the next one, and this is when I switched to Stefan as my secondary, which this one 3.6, about 4.1 bill. So just positive on that one. Seabone. This one was probably 6.4, so that's 7.1. That one's about a draw. The Jiboke. I don't know what happened there. He didn't let it fill, is what happened there. And here's Archer. And let's just go look. I had 2 rains, which is not what you want, but it wasn't horrible. Out 1.7 million T4 killed. Almost 1 million on the T3, 300,000 on the T2, T1 410,000. So I mean, it's killing troops without a doubt. It's not what you would want to look at it as a. And now when we were looking at the amount of archers that they killed, but it's. I mean, at the end of the day, what's my final answer on this? This is what my final answer is. My final answer on this is, what I said was the whole. Yes, T1s are going to be cheaper, and a lot of what was said in the reply was correct. Cheaper, buffs relatively the same, they give up less points, yes. But at the end of the day, when we look at this, the 487,000, 151.92, and then 232, that's where the issue comes in. As I understand what's being said, I get it, I agree with what you're saying, but the issue that's coming in is I can't justify making that move when I look at what the T1s are doing. So that's where the issue comes in, is Uh, they just can't justify it because in the reports that I'm looking at, the T1's not doing anything. Even if they were just dying, like if they were dying, that would be one thing, and I would definitely be down with accepting that. Like I would have no problem accepting that. So I guess my final answer on the T4 T1 debate is I feel like there is some kind of a different dynamic going on there, because it doesn't make sense. And it's hard for me to reconcile that. Oh, okay, well, I guess T4s are just a tier that do something different, and they're going to keep moving forward until they find something to hit. That's kind of hard to reconcile, too, because anywhere from T4 all the way up to the top, to where they stop killing your high-tier troops, nothing else will be affected, and there won't be any other wounded. So that's where I'm at is... You know what? It's a crapshoot, and you can't have everything. Yeah, if you had all siege flats, if you had all siege HP flats, they would survive better. And I've done that, and it did survive a lot better. It was good, even against some of the best in Continent 1. But North Star figured me out, and she had one that was negative, and then the very next one, she just put all... she moved... Well, I don't think she moved gear. I think she just moved generals in that had the gear, which was the ground and the siege civilization gear. Debuffs a lot of siege HP. So she moved that in, and then she was able to be positive against me, even with the flats. So at the end of the day, it's kind of a discussion that's never going to really have an answer. Like, why is the sky blue? How does Positrack work? It just does. Joe Dirt. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's potato. I mean, if you're talking, oh well, blah, 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 you're gonna be, yeah, I understand that. But however, if you don't have T4s there, you might have a lot more to worry about than T4s and T1s, because you might get smashed, and now you're worried about, oh, they killed all my T15 siege, so I'm way negative now. And that's how you're going to build. Is it more important to be built so you can survive a rally, or be built to be positive against a siege solo? My opinion, and probably the opinion of most everyone in the game, is you build so that you can be positive against a rally, because let's be honest, there's a few that might do 1 versus 1 to just be like, oh, I was positive against you, and I'm going to be like, oh, congratulations. You can't rally me, because if you do, like, you turn over the SVS lead. I mean, that's just what it is. And I've had to change a lot, and I've had to adapt. But for me, like, this argument, not argument, I would say this debate is pretty much put to bed at this point, because we see the T4s engage pretty much always. We see the T4s, kill more when it's an archer rally. And then we look at the T1s, and they're not really competing as far as the kills go. Whether it's a lower tier or not, it's not even really in the ballpark. And against the siege, it's not engaging. They aren't dying. So for me, yeah, you could probably build a lot more of them for a lot cheaper. I'm not going to say that you could build a meat shield with them a lot cheaper by doing T1, because in all these reports we see that dynamic isn't happening. So it's either or. And build your city the way you want. I do not sit here or in my server or anywhere and tell people, oh, you have to build this way and your defense will be good. If you do what I do, you're going to be good. Like, I will never say that. But if I'm looking at reports and I'm seeing a really negative outcome for you on your defense, and I'm like, and I message you and I tell you need to change this because you're getting smashed out. At that point, like, if I am willing to put my name on it and tell you you need to change something, I'm not telling you what to do, even though I am. But it's more of a thing of your defense isn't going to be better until you make this change. And some people can say whatever they want. They really can. I really don't care. I've played this game for years. My resume is on the battlefield. I mean, people may not recognize me because I haven't been in finals and I haven't done all that in All-Stars or any of that. I get that, but the last 4 times I've made majors, I've walked away with the Dragon, which is a testament to my team and that I'm skillful enough to make it out of prelims. With a smaller keep, with a lower level keep than most of the people I'm fighting against, with a lower powered keep as far as troop power, as far as overall power, with less duty officers ascended. It's and this is why I taught myself the game by reading reports, and I built everything in my city based off reports. So it's natural when something like this comes up that I'm going to directly go to reports and I'm going to say, okay, well, this is doing this is not doing this is doing this is not doing this, and we come to a reasonable conclusion that in this case, clearly the T4 is engaging with the higher level siege, and they're tying them up, and the tiers below them are not. In 98% of the cases here, they're not. So I wouldn't go start building a bunch of T1 siege. Now, if my layers are leveled up and they're thicker, top to bottom, and I'm comfortable with burning a little bit of resources down there just on the T1s just to see if that dynamic makes a change, if adding more makes a change, I may do that. But at this point in time, that's not for me. I need to kind of push to about 45 billion. By next All-Star would be a really nice number, and I think defensively I'll still be able to hang tough with my much bigger opponents and much bigger rally sizes. So it's a work in progress, but I do feel like I've answered the question of why I don't encourage T1 Siege, why I don't encourage that as a meat shield, because simply I've not seen anything in reports that tells me that it's going to be efficient. And that's my answer to this debate. And others will argue with me. That's inevitable. Bigger players from bigger alliances that have been more successful, and I'm like, yeah, you're good. I mean, you've won Shalons more than my team ever has. You've gone further in All-Stars more than I have, but you know what? In my keep and in my reports, this is what works for me. And at the end of the day, that's far more important than anything else. Is it works for me, and if it works for you, great. And you know what? If you're going and building heaps and heaps of T1 Siege and it's working for you, great. If you've built heaps and heaps of T1 Siege and when you look at the reports, they have very few kills and none of them are dying, then that means they aren't tying up the rally. They aren't really engaging them. They're killing the fluff that's left over. And this is a game where people's opinions, like they will stick with that opinion even to their demise, even to their absolute negative scores in battlefields. And some people are just that way, and I'm like, I'm over here and they get mad at me, and I'm like, I am not here. I don't care. I am not here to impress you. I am not here for any of that BS, and I'm not here to have a pissing match. And at the end of the day, what happens at the end of the day? You poke back and forth at each other. Oh, I know more than you, and it's like, guys, we're playing with an imaginary castle, imaginary dragons. The generals are based on true generals, but they aren't real. If none of this is real. None of this is real. It's a game. And when people get wound up and get ugly and send me messages, it just makes me laugh. And I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, if I leave a group or I'm whatever, once I've made that decision, I promise you, I never make a decision that is going to be negative for me. I never make a decision unless my thought process is, you need me a lot more than I need you. And I'm not going to sit and have ugly arguments and conversations with people. Like, I will not do it. I may reply and tell you, whatever. The one that comes to mind most recently is, oh, so you can tell you, so it's up to you. You decide how I play my game and how I build my troops, and and then I'll get some nonsense reply. And that's my thing, is that you need me a lot more than I need you, and I'm all right with peacing out, and I'm all right with this account going into hibernation if I have to, and just build within a different alliance and work on my keep individually and not even deal with you people. And I'm completely fine with that. Anyway, that's off topic. That's a completely different thing altogether. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call this a video.